in plants. And for animal, we looked into the circulatory system and the lymphatic system. All right. So under the circulatory system, we looked at the different organs um, that is composed of the different organs, the organs that are involved in circulating food. All right. So, and we say the lymphatic system, it works alongside with the circulatory system because it helps to fight infection. It helps to fight diseases. All right. So, and we looked into some other types of circulation. We have three major types of circulation. We looked into the pulmonary circulation, which in which the movements um, in which it's the type of circulation that carries the oxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs for oxygenation and returns oxygenated blood to the heart. All right, so we call it heart to lungs to heart movement. All right, so the second circulation is the systematic circulation, in which it is the heart to body to heart, that is, transport oxygen rich blood from the heart to the rest of the body and returns the oxygenated blood back to the heart. All right, and we looked into the third circulation, which is the lymphatic circulation, which transports lymph, which helps with immunity and fluid balance. It helps to fight infections in the body. All right, so the circulation is the transport of lymph, all right, which helps with immunity. All right, immunity and fluid balance. All right, so those are the major circulations that we talked about. So, and we also treated some questions, some past questions on the topic. Okay, so today we are moving to respiration. We are moving to what we call respiration. So when we talk of respiration, what is respiration? What is respiration? All right, so respiration is a word we are familiar with. All right, even as a layman, we know that from the word respire, respiration. A layman will tell you that it involves gaseous exchange, breathing in and breathing out. Okay, so even someone that has not been to biology class, or let's say a layman believes that respiration involves breathing in and breathing out. All right, so yes, that is correct. However, there are some other things attached to respiration. It is not only limited to gaseous exchange. So that is what we want to look into today. And I hope you pay attention and follow me as we delve into this topic. All right. So wherever you're watching from, if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please do like, comment, and subscribe by clicking that fine button. All right. So and subscribe to this channel so you can continue to get educative videos, okay, preparatory videos. All right, so it's so that it can help you to perform well in your GTME. It can help you to come out in flying colors. Okay, so like I said earlier, today's topic is respiration. And what is respiration? We are going to be starting with the definition of respiration. So, what is respiration? Respiration is it's a biological process. All right, it's a biological process and it provides energy. I made mention of something earlier that it is not only limited to the gaseous exchange, breathing in and breathing out. It is more than that. All right, so it provides energy. Okay, if you let's see it from this angle. Why do we say it provides energy? Let's see it from the angle that you are familiar with. For someone that just fainted, for someone that just fainted, the person is not breathing in or breathing out. The person's breath ceased. What would happen? The person will be lying down lifeless on the floor. No strength, no energy to carry hand or to move any part of the body. All right, because the person is not breathing in or breathing out. So this is to tell you that breathing in, breathing out gives energy, provides energy. If you don't breathe in or breathe out, you will not be able to move the body, your body parts. Okay, so I am trying to give you an example that you're familiar with and that you can easily, relate with. Okay, so and I hope you understand the instance that I just gave. All right, so talking about respiration, it is a vital biological process that provides energy for all living organisms. Okay, so it provides energy for all living organisms. It releases what we call ATP, which powers cellular activities like movement, growth, and repair. Okay, so it is the energy that is generated in your body that you use to move around. It is the energy that makes all the cells in your body to function well, to function and make you grow. All right, so it's so that is one of the functions of respiration. Okay, so the real definition of respiration, you can say it is the breakdown of glucose to release energy in the form of ATP. So I'm going to write it on the board. All right, so respiration involves the breakdown of glucose to release energy in the form of ATP, with gaseous exchange and its production. Okay, so this is the definition of respiration. So respiration involves the breakdown of glucose to release energy in the form of ATP with gaseous exchange and its production. So like I said earlier that respiration is not only limited to gaseous exchange, that is breathing in and breathing out. No. So it involves the breakdown of glucose to release energy in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so that is the meaning of ATP. So that is the definition of respiration. And also, it is, the waste product is released because to animals, to humans, the CO2 is part of the waste product. Okay, because it is not needed in our body. That is why we breathe out CO2. So waste product is also expelled out during respiration. Waste product is expelled during respiration. All right. So then the energy produced in the body, the energy produced during respiration also helps in the heat temperature, in maintaining the heat temperature of our body, in maintaining the body temperature. All right. So it helps in maintaining the body temperature. We are going to be looking at different organisms and their respiratory organs. So respiration is it is living organisms that can experience respiration. And when we newly started this life class, the first topic we had was living organisms, characteristics of living organisms. So I hope you can remember that respiration is one of the characteristics of living organisms. So if we are talking about living organisms generally, then you should know that we are not only referring to animals. Plants also undergo respiration, okay, because plants are living things. So we are going to be looking at how plants and animals, you know, undergo respiration, how they carry out respiration. All right. So the first thing we are looking into is the respiratory organs and their organisms. So I'm going to be showing us a chart under a chart of respiratory organs and their organisms. Respiratory organs and their organisms. All right. Respiratory organs and their organisms. Okay. So this is a chart of respiratory organs and their organisms. Okay. So if you look at this chart very well, if you look at this chart very well, you will see the different organisms and their you see the different organisms and their respiratory organs and their respiratory organs. Okay, so number one, we have the earthworms, we have the earthworms. All right, so we have the earthworms, we have the hydra, we have the hydra. Okay, so we have the hydra, we have the amoeba, we have the paramecium, and all these organisms, they have their own way they respire. They have their own way they carry out respiration. Okay, so number one, we have the amoeba. As you can see, we have amoeba, we have paramecium, we have earthworm, and we have the hydra. Okay, we have the hydra. So all these four organisms, they don't have a particular surface. They don't have a particular surface they use for respiration. No particular part they use for respiration. So they use their body surface. Okay, their body surface is what they use in respiration. All right. So and I'm going to show you how different organisms with their different respiratory organs. Different organism is just an example of what I said earlier. All right, so as you can see here on the bird, this is the amoeba. We have the amoeba here. Okay, so there is no particular structure, there's no particular organ, there's no particular part they use for respiration. Human being, we make use of our nostrils, we make use of our lungs via nostrils. All right, that is what we use in carrying out respiration. But then the amoeba, they do not have a specific structure, a specific organ for respiration. So they make use of their body surface. They make use of their body surface. So if you look at this label, you will see oxygen is labeled here. So which means that the body surface is their own um, organ for respiration. So there is no particular or specific part. There's no specific organ they use for respiration. They make use of their body surface, or you call it their skin. They make use of their body surface, or you call it their skin. That is what they use for respiration. All right, so and then as you can see here, we also have fish. We also have fish. Fish belongs to the class apes. So when you have fish, you have the like tadpoles. You have tadpoles, you have fishes. They do not have they do not make use of their body surface like the amoeba. So they make use of gill as labeled here, gill hack. So gill hack is what they use for respiration. Gill hack is what they use for respiration. All right. So respiration in feces, as you can see, they make use of gills. All right. So, and talking about the earthworm, the earthworm also does not have a particular structure or organ for respiration. They make use of their body surface. As you can see in this diagram, there is no particular part labeled for respiration. So you can see it is their body surface, or you call it their skin. That is what they use for respiration. Then also in frog, which we call amphibians, they make use of they have lungs like human being. They have lungs, they have nostrils. So they make use of their lungs, make use of their nostril for respiration. So their lungs is their site of respiration. All right. So, and for this frog, like I said earlier, they make use of their nostril, they make use of their lungs. Also, mammals, the birds, the reptiles, the amphibians. Frog belong to amphibians, just like I explained earlier that human being make use of lungs, and via our nostril, respiration occurs. So, as you can see in frog, it is the same as human. So mammals, the mammals, like human being, the mammals, e.g., human being, dog, cow, goat, they are mammals. All right. So the mammals, the birds, the reptiles are the lizards, the crocodile. Those ones are reptiles. All right. So we have the mammals, we have the birds, we have the reptiles, and you have the amphibians. So, e.g., frog, toad. So, this frog belongs to the class amphibian. So, these four classes of animals, they make use of their lung as their respiratory organ. They make use of their lung as their respiratory organ. Those four. So, any animal mentioned that belongs to either of these classes, they make use of their lungs for as respiratory organ. All right. So, and talking about the green plants, like I said earlier, that the green plants are living organisms, so they also have their own way of carrying out respiration, because they are living organisms and they have to exhibit the characteristics of living organisms, in which respiration is one of them. All right, so the green plants also respire. They carry out respiration, but then they do not have lungs, they do not have gill, they do not have nostrils. How do they carry out their respiration? They make use of stomata. They make use of stomata. There's something we call stomata in plants, and I'm going to show you um, respiration in plants now. I'm going to show you a chart so you can see how plants carry out their own respiration. All right. So as you can see here, so this is the plant. All right. So there is stomata. Stomata is located in the leaf, site of the leaf. Okay, so they make use of what we call stomata instead of the lungs in mammals. They make use of what we call stomata. So it is stomata that helps them in their own gaseous exchange, the release of oxygen or carbon dioxide. This is the part they make use of. They use stomata for their own gaseous exchange. And also there is what we call woody plants. Woody plants. Don't forget, top. I am. This is a green plant. This is green plant rather. All right. So green plants. Examples on that green plant are all these mango plants, cashew plants, the maize, the pawpaw plants, all the plants you are familiar with. All right. So they are green plants. So they make use of stomata, and their own respiratory organ is quite different from the woody plants. Please take note of that. Their respiratory organ is different from the woody plant. All right. So for green plants, like I gave you examples of the plants you are familiar with, they make use of stomata as their own respiratory organ, while woody plants make use of what we call lenticel as their respiratory organ. They make use of lenticel as their respiratory organ. All right. So we have talked about the different classes of living organisms and their respiratory organs. I have made mention of the mammals, the apes, the mammals, the birds. Yes, it's also apes. The the reptiles, the amphibians, in which their respiratory organ is lungs. All right. So and then I made mention of green plants. They make use of stomata. Made mention of woody plants. Also, I made mention of some unicellular organisms like the amoeba, the paramecium. All right. The even multicellular organism like hydra, they make use of their body surface, like I explained the other time. They make use of their body surface, or you call it their skin, for respiration. There is no definite organ for respiration in these organisms. Okay, so I hope you understand. If you have any question that is bothering you, please do not forget to drop your question in the chat box, and we are going to attempt it together. All right. So the next thing we want to look at is the stomatal movement. We are still on plants, respiration in plants. Okay. So talking about the stomatal movement, there are mechanisms for opening and closing of the stomata. So the stomata does not just open, like it doesn't open all the time. There is a mechanism, there is a process involved in the opening of the stomata in plants. All right. So just like human being, you cannot just open your mouth unless you want to talk or you want to eat, all right, or you want to drink. So if there is no purpose for you to open your mouth, you don't open it. So likewise in plants, the respiratory organ does not just open without any purpose. So there is a mechanism and there is a process involved in opening and closing um plant stomata. All right, so that is what we want to look into. And number one is the daytime, one of their conditions. Okay, so during the daytime, the stomata opens. During the daytime, the stomata opens. Why? Don't forget, we have talked about um photosynthesis, and I explained the site of photosynthesis, the difference between the light reaction and the dark reaction, how oxygen is given off, how glucose is broken down, and all of that, how ATP is formed. All right. So during the daytime, there is photosynthesis. Okay, so when the light shines on the plant, what happens? The stomata open because the water in the plant has to break down for oxygen to be given off. So during the daytime, the stomata opens. The stomata opens during the daytime. Okay, so during the daytime, the stomata opens because that is when photosynthesis, or let me say, that is when the light reaction in photosynthesis occurs. Okay, so but during the night time, the stomata closes. During the night time, when um you know during the night time, the stomata closes because it has already absorbed the light energy needed during the daytime. So it doesn't open during the night time. Okay, because during the daytime, that is when the ATP will be produced, that is when the oxygen will be given up. So the other processes occur in the dark reaction, and that does not involve the stomata opening. It does not involve the opening of stomata. Okay, so that is I've talked about two different conditions now for the stomata. During the daytime, the stomata opens. During the nighttime, the stomata closes. All right, and the stomata opens during the daytime because of photosynthesis, because of the light reaction in photosynthesis. All right, so another condition is water shortage. Another condition is water shortage. So when there is water shortage, or like during the dry season, like we are now, during the dry season, just like human being gets dehydrated, or just like human being gets dehydrated, plants also feel dry season. So during the dry seasons, they lose water also. Just like human being lose water, we get dehydrated. We that is the time, that is the period we take, chilled water. You just need to take water because you are dehydrated. So the same thing occurs in plants. During the dry season, the plants try to conserve their water. They don't want to lose too much water. All right, so the stomata closes. It doesn't open. Don't forget that when during the daytime, when there is light during the daytime, the stomata opens because the water molecule has to break down for oxygen to be given off, and then energy will be produced. All right, so when the water is when there's shortage in water, when the water is not enough, the stomata closes so that the plant does not lose too much water. Okay, so the stomata closes. All right, so another thing is, if the carbon dioxide in leaf is low, don't forget that the plants breathe in carbon dioxide. So when the carbon dioxide in plants is low, the stomata will have to open, because the stomata is the respiratory organ of green plants. So the stomata will not close because it needs more carbon dioxide to survive. So the stomata will open during low carbon dioxide, that's CO2. So the stomata what? The stomata opens. All right. Then during high temperature, what happens during high temperature? The stomata also close. It closes. Why? Because when there is high temperature, the plant is bound to lose water. The plant is bound to lose water. So it closes the stomata. It closes the stomata. So when there is water shortage, when there is high temperature, the stomata closes because it tries to conserve the little water it has for survival. So the stomata closes. That is the stomatal movement, the opening and closing of stomata in plants. That is the mechanism involved. So the stomata, it moves in a way that in a way that makes the plant survive. All right. So in a way that makes the plant survive, that is the movement of the stomata. And the conditions are what I just explained. During the daytime, the nighttime, when there is water shortage, when there is low carbon dioxide, and when there is high temperature. So the stomata moves in different way just to make the plant survive. Okay, so now talking about the respiratory mechanism in plants, right? So it does not have a particular, respiratory organ like animal, just like I explained. So it makes use of the process we call diffusion. Diffusion is the process of, whereby molecules move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So the environment, it make use of the process we call diffusion because it comes from the environment. Okay, and as you can see the leaf here, there is no particular structures because it is present on that leaf. So you can see all the leaves, the leaves. So there is not no there is not one particular organ like mammals or like animals where you say it is the lung that is responsible. Yes, we know it is the stomata that is responsible in green plant, but then plant has many leaves. All right, so it makes use of the process called diffusion. Diffusion. All right, so there are processes involved in plants. There are processes involved in plant respiration. Okay, like the oxygen and carbon dioxide move by diffusion through the opening in leaf stems and roots, just like I explained. They move by the process called diffusion. Okay, also the oxygen released is used for aerobic respiration, that is breaking down of glucose in mitochondria to produce ATP. So aerobic respiration means that oxygen is involved. Aerobic respiration means oxygen is involved. We are still going to that anyways. Okay, so we have respiratory surface. We have respiratory surface. So the stomata in green plants, in which the location is leaf, rather, as you can see, the location is leaf. So stomata is there, it's present on the leaves. So it allows the gas exchange. It allows the gas exchange during the day. That is the function of the stomata. And the lenticel in woody plants, it is it occurs on the stem of the plant. Don't forget this is stem. This is stem, right? This is the root. Okay, this is the root, this is the stem. And if the stomata is present on the leaf, then the lenticel is present on the stem, as you can see. So you have the lenticel in stem. So the function of the lenticel is to what? Is to also permit gaseous exchange. That is the back covered stems. The back covered stems. Okay, you see some, big trees with hard parts, hard woody parts at the stem area. So that is where this lenticel occurs. That is where you can find the lenticel, and it's also responsible for gaseous exchange. All right. Then you have the roots here. You have the root hairs, all these small hairs at the roots side, at the root area. They are the root hairs. So root hairs are found on the roots. Okay, they are found on the roots. And what is the function of the root hairs? It absorbs oxygen. It absorbs oxygen from airspace airspace in the soil. Don't forget that your root, it grows downward inside the soil, right? Your root grows downward inside the soil. So the root hair absorbs oxygen from the airspace inside the soil. All right. So those are the respiratory surface in plants. So the respiratory surface in plants is your stomata, the lenticel, and the root hairs. Please take note of that. You have the lenticel, you have the stomata, and you have the root hairs. roots hairs, roots hairs. So these three are the respiratory surface, respiratory surface in plants. Okay, so types of respiration. We move to types of respiration in plants. There are different types of respiration in plants, and the first is the aerobic respiration, while the second is the anaerobic respiration. Coming, so you have the aerobic respiration, you have the anaerobic respiration. You have the aerobic and you have the anaerobic respiration. Okay, so talking about the, going to write it here so you can see aerobic, aerobic respiration, and number two is anaerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. Okay, so these are the types of respiration in plants. Types of respiration, types of respiration in plants. Okay, so one is aerobic respiration and the second one is anaerobic respiration. So what do we mean by aerobic respiration? It occurs in the presence of oxygen. So it makes use of oxygen to break down glucose. It makes use of oxygen, the use of oxygen, while the use of oxygen, while the anaerobic does not involve the use of oxygen, no use of oxygen. Okay, so these two types of respiration, they have their own equation, just like we had in photosynthesis. So for aerobic respiration, the equation is related to that of photosynthesis. So you have the glucose. Don't forget that when you breathe in, the glucose is broken down. Okay, so the glucose is broken down for energy, for ATP to be produced. All right, so your glucose is C6H12O6 plus oxygen. Don't forget that oxygen is needed. Don't forget that oxygen is needed. All right, when it comes to um aerobic respiration, oxygen is needed. So it gives what? It gives water, it gives water and carbon dioxide. It gives water and carbon dioxide. H2O plus CO2 plus energy. Energy is given off in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. All right. So, but this equation, we need to balance it. When you write an equation, you check if it is balanced or not. So, how do we balance our equation? You have your glucose here, you have oxygen here. So, let's start from oxygen. Okay. So, talking about how to balance equation, you would see that you have two oxygen here and here you have two oxygen. All right, you have two oxygen here too, but here you have six oxygen. So if six oxygen is air and you have two oxygen already here, then we need to balance the six. You also will have one oxygen here. So if you put the six here, six oxygen, all right, and you put your six here, then you have 2 times 6 12. You have 12 oxygen here already. Okay, also you have 12 oxygen here, 2 times 6 12 oxygen, but there is one oxygen here. However, we still have 6 oxygen here. So if you put 6 here, it means that the oxygen is balanced. You have 6 oxygen, you have 6 oxygen, you have 12 oxygen, you have 12 oxygen. So the oxygen is balanced. Also, if you look at the hydrogen, you have 12 hydrogen here, and here 2 times 6 12. you have 12 hydrogen. Then the carbon, you have 6 carbon here, and looking at the carbon here, you have 6 carbon. So your equation is balanced. So when glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, it gives water, carbon dioxide, and energy is being produced in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is for aerobic respiration. Don't forget, this is for aerobic respiration. So writing the equation for anaerobic respiration now. So for anaerobic respiration, the glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen. No oxygen is required. When it comes to anaerobic respiration, no oxygen is required. So you write your glucose C6, H12O6. No oxygen is required. So the product of anaerobic respiration, the product is ethanol. Ethanol is giving off, ethanol is giving off, carbon dioxide is giving off, and energy is also produced. So you have your ethanol to be C2H5OH. That is ethanol. For those that are familiar with chemistry very well, this is ethanol. So ethanol is produced, carbon dioxide is produced, and energy is released. So you need to balance your equation. Don't forget that your equation has to balance. Okay, so looking at what is there, you have C6, you have C6, 6 carbon, right? So if you put your you cannot put 6 carbon here because you cannot put 6 here because you also have carbon here. All right. So let's take a look at the oxygen. Okay, so you have 6 oxygen here, you have 2 oxygen here, you have 1 oxygen here. So how do we balance our equation? So if you put, let's say we put 2 here, you have 2 times 2, for that is 4 oxygen, and you are still going to 6. Okay, this is 4 oxygen, you have 1 oxygen here, so let's put 2 here for our oxygen to be balanced. So you have 2 oxygen, you have 4 oxygen, the oxygen is balanced already. So let's move to another element. Looking at the carbon, you have 6 carbon here. All right, so when you're balancing equation, you start with an element. All right, so looking at the carbon, you have 6 carbon here, 2 times 2, 4, you have 4 carbon here, and you also have 2 carbon here. So our carbon is balanced too. Okay, so let's move to hydrogen. You have 12 hydrogen here, and here you have 2 times 5, 10, and you have 2 here. So this is also 12 hydrogen already. It is balanced. So this is the equation for anaerobic respiration. So for anaerobic respiration, ethanol is given off. You have ethanol, you have carbon dioxide, and you have energy. And for aerobic respiration, you have um, water, carbon dioxide, and energy is also released. Okay, so this is the difference between the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. All right, so let's move into respiratory mechanism in animals. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask your question so that we can um, deal with it together. Okay, so we want to look into respiratory mechanism in animals. Respiratory mechanism in animals. Okay, so as you can see the simple chart, and forget that your animal, your human being, we all belong to the category of animal. All right. So when we talk of animals, human being is also included. Okay. So we want to look at the respiratory mechanisms in so we want to look at respiratory mechanism in animals. In animals. Okay. So, talking about the respiratory mechanism in animals, don't forget that animals have specialized respiratory organ, unlike the plants where the body surface, let's say the leaf, the stem, the roots. So, but in animal, there is a definite organ. There is a specialized respiratory organ that allows efficient oxygen and carbon dioxide removal. All right, so we are going to be looking at the processes involved in animal. So number one is that oxygen is taken in. Okay, oxygen is taken in, and for looking at what I explained earlier about different animals, we talked about those that make use of gills as their respiratory organs. We talked about those that make use of lungs as their respiratory organ, and we talked about those that make use of their body surface, or let's say their skin. Okay, so these animals, they have different specialized organ for respiration. So number one is that oxygen intake is, oxygen is taken in via specialized structures, just like I listed here. So they have specialized structure. So for the gills, that is for fish. For the lungs, we have the don't forget, we have the mammals, we have the amphibians, we have the reptiles, we have the birds that make use of lung as their respiratory organ. And for the body surface, we have all these organisms, unicellular, multicellular organisms like the amoeba, the paramecium, the hydra, the earthworm. They make use of their body surface or their skin as their respiratory organ. So number two is that the oxygen that they breathe in enters the bloodstream. All right, so it enters the bloodstream and is transported to cells. So when an animal breathes in oxygen, the oxygen does not just disappear, or the oxygen does not just remain in the lungs. So it has to distribute it to the other parts of this of the body, so that the whole body part can be of good, can work effectively. Okay, so talking about the how the oxygen moves in the body, how it works in the body of animal. Once when the animal breathes in oxygen, the oxygen enters the bloodstream from the lungs. It goes to the bloodstream. We have talked about the circulatory system, and we talked about the different types of circulation, how the oxygen, how the oxygen work together with the blood, the oxygenated blood, the deoxygenated blood. We have talked about that. All right. So this oxygen, it goes into the bloodstream, and the it is transported into the cells. All right, it is transported into the cells so that the whole part of the body can function effectively. And another part is in the mitochondria, the glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, just like I explained aerobic respiration in plants. So, in the presence of oxygen, the glucose is broken down. And when the glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, ATP is released. Adenosine triphosphate is released, which is your energy. All right, which is your energy. So, you have adenosine triphosphate released when adenosine triphosphate released when your oxygen breaks down the glucose. Okay, so you have your ATP released, you have your carbon dioxide released, and you have your water. That is the definition of the aerobic respiration that I explained earlier. Don't forget. So talking about the respiration, it may not, if the question may not even come in in the form of aerobic respiration. That is why you need to understand that it is when the oxygen is used. When the oxygen is used, we are referring to aerobic respiration. And when oxygen is used to break down the glucose, the water, carbon dioxide, and ATP is reduced. And the ATP is your energy. All right. So also the carbon dioxide is removed from the blood and expelled through the respiratory surface. Don't forget that you breathe out carbon dioxide. All right. So your carbon dioxide is expelled because you do not need it in your body system. You do not need it in your body system. And that is why carbon dioxide is giving up. Carbon dioxide is expelled. So it's one of the waste products expelled out of your body. All right, because it is not useful, it is not needed for you, it is not needed in your body system. Okay, so carbon dioxide is expelled, is removed from the body. All right, so we have the difference between the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So I have explained the aerobic respiration, I've explained the anaerobic respiration. So talking about the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, I believe you should be able to, tell me some things, or you should be able to deduce some differences between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So, like number one, the oxygen requirement, I said aerobic respiration does not involve oxygen. Sorry, aerobic respiration involves oxygen. All right. So oxygen is used in aerobic respiration, while anaerobic respiration, oxygen is not used. So you don't need oxygen for anaerobic respiration. All right. So that is one of the differences. And then the energy yielded, the energy produced. Don't forget that energy is both producing aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Yes, energy is both given off. However, where you have oxygen, there is higher energy released. So there is higher energy released. So for aerobic respiration, the energy released is 38 ATP per glucose. So when oxygen breaks down glucose, the energy that is released at that period, at that moment, is 38 adenosine triphosphate. That is how high the energy is released, 38 adenosine triphosphate. However, for anaerobic respiration, the ATP released is as low as 2 ATP. Is as low as 2 ATP. Hope you can understand the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So for aerobic respiration, the energy released is 38 ATP, 38 adenosine triphosphate, while for anaerobic respiration, 2 adenosine triphosphate is released. All right. So another difference is the end product. Don't forget, I gave you equation of the two types of respiration. I gave you equation of the aerobic respiration and for anaerobic respiration. So for aerobic respiration, the products are what? You have the carbon dioxide, you have the water, you have the ATP. All right. You have the ATP, you have the carbon dioxide, you have water. That is the product formed from the aerobic respiration. And for anaerobic respiration, the products formed are your ethanol, your CO2, carbon dioxide, also energy is produced. Yes, ATP is also produced, just like it is very low compared to that of aerobic respiration. Okay, so and also for the aerobic respiration, it is, it involves normal breathing. So as you are breathing in, you are breathing out. That is aerobic respiration because is involved. Oxygen is involved. Okay, oxygen is involved. So talking about the anaerobic respiration, you know, it is not a normal breathing because there is no oxygen involved. So it just happens in the body system. So when there is muscle fatigue, probably during vigorous exercise, we are having a vigorous exercise and there is muscle fatigue. That is when anaerobic respiration occur. It means that that area, that muscle at that moment is lacking oxygen. All right. So it is lacking oxygen at that moment. So that is what we call that's an example of anaerobic respiration, muscle fatigue. Okay, so I hope you understand this topic. If you have any question that is bothering you, you can please ask your question using the chat box. All right. So, and if you can hear me, you are listening to me, and you understand the topic, please thumbs up and let me see. Thumbs up if you understand this topic. All right. All right. So I'm going to do a recap of everything that we did today. So we started from respiration. I gave you the definition of respiration as, it involves the breakdown of glucose to produce energy, to release energy in the form of ATP with gaseous exchange and its production. That is respiration. And we talked about the respiratory organs. I gave you the different organisms with different respiratory organ. For example, the amoeba, the paramecium, the earthworm, the hydra, they make use of their body surface or their skin as their respiratory organ. And the fishes, the amphibians, the crustaceans, the tadpoles, they make use of their gills. All right, they make use of their gills as their respiratory organs. Okay, so and for insects, they make use of trachea as their respiratory organ. And for mammals, for birds, reptiles, amphibians, they make use of their lungs as their respiratory organ. And for green plants, make use of stomata as their respiratory organ. And for woody plants, they make use of their lenticels. They make use of their lenticels as their respiratory organ. Okay, so we talked about the somatal movement, we talked about the respiratory mechanisms in plants and animals, we talked about the types of respiration in plants, and we talked about the respiratory mechanism in animals. I also gave you the equation of the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So this comes to the end of the class, and I hope you grabbed everything that we did today. So we are not going to be treating past questions today because we are not yet through with this topic. So our next class, we are going to conclude this topic and then treat past questions, different questions on the topic so that you can be familiar with the way question comes from UTME under this topic. So pending the next class, you can go to our app, A1 Tutor app, download, or there are numerous past questions on the app. You can check through and bring out different questions on this particular topic. See how they said their questions, be familiar with how they said their questions, and in our next class, we'll come together and solve it. All right. So thank you for joining today's class. Like I said earlier, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Invite your friends. Let them come and learn on A1 Tutor page. All right. So thank you very much for joining today's class. Have a wonderful night rest. Bye.